Okay.
Hello and welcome. This is Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and this is day 5, the big day 5 of the Go for the Gold New Client Sign Up Challenge. And it's interesting because we always have the intention of what we're going to do when we get an idea or a creation. And, this was a fairly quick idea and creation. And I think it's actually perfect because I had been having all these conversations with amazing people that were on my list. I had said, there's people I haven't talked to in years, and let me just see where they are and what's up. And I know a lot of people who are coaches and healers and beautiful practitioners, and maybe they are working a small independent business, but just about every single person was like, well, I've made a shift. I've come from this change in my life, and now I've got to figure out how to get new clients, because they were like in this new kind of positioning in life. And I'm going to check on my controls here. Yeah. And so it's kind of like what used to work didn't work now. And that was, they were a little bit lost. They had done the internet search and, the stuff that pops up in your Facebook. And then they were investing in all this training, and everyone was kind of staying, not every single one, but many people were staying kind of in this construction zone. And then as I started kind of asking, well, tell me about your offer. Well, I don't really know what I want to do or who I'm talking to. It's like, well, then why are you taking the class on building a really sophisticated funnel? And why are you wanting to learn Facebook advertising when you don't know what you're selling or who you're selling it to or what results you can get? And those are like the basic things. And the people that those marketers are selling to, they have that part nailed down. And so here we've got these amazing, talented people who have a big heart to serve. And if they just ever had a chance to get someone in front of them, people would want to buy from them. But at the same time, they weren't really clear within themselves about what their mastery was, what the real transformation was, and how could they narrow down what they do outside of, we could call coach or healer speak, without having to give someone a PhD course on the psychology of what we do and energy medicine or how change is made or anything else. How can we really break it down to the language that their customer is speaking and how they are looking for help? So what we discovered this week is that there's this idea, this separation between our idea of being a healer and a coach or a trainer or a practitioner or a therapist or whatever we do. I mean, I have a lot of people that are realtors. And so they got this idea, like a realtor and a real estate agent, their job is to sell. But the position they have is not as a seller. They've got to be in that counselor and trusted authority. And where, like, let's say where a realtor gets hung up is when they start trying to go for the cash and get themselves in competition and comparison, and then they might get mad at their coworkers, they might be upset with their competition, or they might even get mad at their customers. And so when I work with a realtor, I bring them back to their values and kind of connect in to see what's really running the show there. And then I help them get really clear on their vision and then what would be their action steps. Because inside of each of us, we have the map encoded for success. We don't have to look to nature. We don't have to look out to other people. We might get a glimpse. We might say, well, I want to save myself some time where they're going, I want to go, which that makes sense. Like, why lengthen your learning curve? Right now, I'm at my daughter's house because I want to get back into the keto way of eating. It works really well for me. And at the same time, my downfall is, let me make sure I eat at this time. Let me do my meal planning. Where am I on my macros? All of that stuff is just not in the stuff I like to think about. But my daughter loves that stuff. She's lost 95 pounds in the last year, right? I went off and lived by my own and slowly fell back into my bad habits. So I didn't have that relationship. So when I started, I had a diverticulitis episode. I said, oh, I've got to kind of heal my gut. And then two, I want to get back to good eating. So I came and let my daughter be the cook and the lead. So right now I'm just eating dinner with them, and my daughter goes for walks certain times of the day, and I just make sure I go do my walk with her, right? So I'm creating a new rhythm without having to muscle through, right? So we can do that, but we have to have a clear vision, one, of where we are and where we want to go. How is it going to help us in our bigger mission on the thing that we want to do? And who do we want to help? So even in losing weight, even though I like to look good, I'm as vain as anybody else. I'm single, I'm dating, I want to be sexy, right? I want to be attractive to people I find attractive, but also I want to be attractive and healthy and vibrant for the people that I'm working for. I want to have the energy. I want to be able to go give presentations, and that just takes a big bandwidth. I'm going to turn your video off. I think all of a sudden we kind of popped up back over to you. Okay. So, oh, and who do we have? We also have Annette. Hello, sweet Annette. So, you know, our life has changed, but then we try to run our business the same way. So when I work with people, I have to identify that. And it doesn't matter if it's a coach, if it's a realtor, if it's a small business owner, whatever their business is. And really, I'm just this way with people. And so are you. You are just naturally a coach, healer, facilitator, helper with people. Okay, that's who you are. You can't help but walk around that way. All right, this is so funny because it keeps throwing me off of my own feed. There we go. So I was noticing everyone was having that trouble. And they wanted to, but they just kind of couldn't get out of their own way of thinking. And even if they'd had some success, it still kind of got kind of circular. And then if they tried to follow a success map, they couldn't, because they'd start overthinking it, or their doubts or fears would come up, or they'd start comparing themselves to other people. Does that sound like what happens? That sure happened to me. But I really wasn't clear on who I really wanted to serve, where my genius was, and to really even step up in authority and to be in commitment. And so once I discovered that those were two big stops for me, I started looking, and I realized that was a big stop for a lot of people. So a lot of people really didn't know how to think about their business, think about themselves, think about their customers. So that's why we wanted to think about who are your 5 whys, creating the offer, what is the system that's best going to support that. And that's the other place people get into trouble. They start trying to figure out autoresponders and newsletters and get set up on all their Facebook and social marketing, and then they don't really know who they're talking to or how to use it. So next thing you know, they're spending all this time writing articles, posting cute quotes, saying hi to everybody, but mostly just kind of trying to throw a bunch of spaghetti against the wall and hope that somebody sees it and goes, oh, I love that. And then they will go somehow magically to their website or their business page and say, hey, I was curious about that. So they're not even having a clear intention on how to use social media that way. And right now there's so many tools that simply was not available 5 years ago. And no matter how you feel about Facebook, you know, I'm in a little bit of a love-hate with it. There's stuff I don't like about it, but it's a fact of life. And, you know, a crazy amount of people, something like 4 billion people at a time are on this thing. Well, there's 7 billion on the planet. 4 billion of them are somehow on Facebook at any given moment during the day. And it's become the way that families communicate. It's how people are connecting into the local business. And it's not just through advertising. The secret place is through groups and that group leadership. And so now it's a little different. It's not that shouting, hey, notice me. It's, connecting, hey, I'm noticing you. And that is such a different positioning. Hey, I'm here for you. And then offering some support. These are troubling times. And then pulling people into these one-on-one conversations. And there's so many things you could do. Like here I did this challenge. The last challenge Asar and I did, basically it was a whim. I found out how we would do it and we set it up again for the next week. I had this challenge set up really in less than 24 hours. And the only thing that I could point to was we happened to be doing this during the week where there's this convergence of two things happening. One, is weird stuff happening with Facebook and Facebook Live right now because they're doing some upgrades to the systems and there's some shifts in their algorithms. But then the other thing in our area, there's where the hub is, there was this big major storm and flooding, and that affected all the internet service. And I'm a couple of 100 miles away from that, but that just kind of created this whole effect. So we couldn't get stuff uploaded. I really couldn't make Facebook Live work. But guess what? I still had over 100 new people come into my world that I have a chance to have a conversation with. How many times, think of how many ways you could suddenly get 150 new people or more into your world, right? To say hello to, and to, if you don't sell to them directly, you can think about each of their connections, okay? And which is so powerful. And here's how I want you to think about it, or I want to invite you to think about it. I got to stop with my big bossy Texas girl talk. Years ago, there was a man that went to, he was going to go to a funeral, and he noticed that there were the pamphlets, for the service. And he happened to be talking to the person who owned the funeral home and said, how do you plan that? How do you know how many of these to print out? It's not like there's an RSVP. We find out there's a death and then people just come. He said, I print an average of about 250 of these little service, you've been there, right? Where it's like, oh, today we're celebrating the life of Mary Jane. Those little handouts, that's what I'm talking about. And he said, well, how do you know? They said, well, that's about the average number of people that each one of us have an influence over in the average life. Okay, that's just somebody who works a regular job that might not even be marketing or sales or anything like that. Let's see, prayer cards. Thank you, Miss Crystal. So we have at least that. But now if we're on Facebook, I don't know how many Facebook friends I'm at right now. I don't know, 1,100 or something. And honestly, I only know about 25% of them personally. I got a little promiscuous with my Facebook friending because back in the day, there was no such thing as the business page. And what's happened with the Facebook business page is phenomenal because I don't know if you know this, but now if you were to join a group, like let's say Empowered Women or your city networking group, you can join as your business page, not your personal profile. And think about how powerful that is, because when you make a comment or you offer help or you say, hey, here's a great little article, people would click on and say, oh, this is what they do. It's actually easier to connect you as your business person without having to be a salesperson. Isn't that cool? But now there's the ability to do videos, the chat, the messaging, the ability to get paid through Facebook without having to pay fees. They've got the video. They've got so many ways to do this, and people are more comfortable with Facebook. My mom died in 2012, and the way that we announced the funeral, because she had a long career and we have all lived all over and our families all over. Well, the way that we managed that was not a million phone calls. We posted on her Facebook page, and then we used my email autoresponder, and I got her phone book, I uploaded it, and I was able to send out text messages and phone messages. and we manage the whole announcement process in about 30 minutes, right? So it's all moving on there, but there's a lot of things happening with Twitter. There's things happening with Instagram and LinkedIn, but we've got to get over our own resistance to, or our argument with, where people want to be and how they want to communicate. We've got to stop that argument. And so part of the focus of this is to, hey, let's get over your own argument about all the reasons you cannot be having a business right now, even though it's not perfect, even though you may not have your website set up, even though you may not have all your bells and whistles and your beautiful, perfect branding. There's some small key pieces that you can have in place, and that you could start having conversations and start enrolling people into your business. And then as you start getting feedback and successes, then you can start building the systems to support them. Okay. I intentionally brought this down to something that was not scalable to a massive number, unless you were some kind of workhorse or something. But what I really wanted to do is bring this down to where, like, hey, if you dedicated an hour a day to this one activity, you could very reasonably, in a very short time, within a couple of weeks, start enrolling clients either into a class that you want to sell, into a program, into your one-on-one coaching, however you want to configure that, either online or in person, just if you even wanted to test out an idea. And I'm a continual tester, and I'm a fast action taker. And the only time I've ever really gotten into a struggle is when I don't take fast action on an idea. And I try to overthink it, and I try to make it too big. For me, having just a few things in place and then ways to collect email addresses and stay in contact, that works best. And then, and I'm in a rebooting, reconfiguring, and honestly, it's just been the last probably month or so that I really said, here's who I want to fully commit to serving. And I've been doing this a long time, but I came from the aspect of, hey, I'm teaching this process, and I know that there's these kind of people who are interested in new processes. And probably 50% of my business came from people asking questions about, how do I perfect that process, or how do I apply that process to this particular way of life? And even if you are more process oriented and you just want to introduce people to a concept, there's still people that they love that next thing. So that's who we, Asar and I, I'm not speaking of the royal we, Asar and I, that's kind of what came up. And we naturally just start gravitating towards these other people that were leaders and already had the people, right? But I did this when I was alone. I did this when I was still working my full-time job, and I was still trying to figure out. I just had this weird thing that I could do, and I loved to show off all the stuff I had learned. Like, let's have like what might be the equivalent of a psychic salon, right? Or let me do a little group reading or group healing here. And the evenings might have been anywhere from $25 to a person to $200 a person to come sit in a circle with me. And sometimes there'd just be a bunch of girlfriends want to get together, and we would just have the wildest time, because I'm channeling and showing them all my little psychic guru stuff and tarot reading. I've done all that. But everyone I ever talked to, they go, that's so cool, I'm interested in that. I said, that's awesome, because I do this. What I do is I do these little in-home things. And I wonder, who do you know that has a group of friends that would be into this, that would be interested in having someone come over? And they went, oh, me. Who do you know? Right? And that's how simple it was. And in fact, I know you've probably heard me tell the story. If you haven't, I'm going to very briefly. I had my identity stolen, and my checking account got emptied on the payday weekend, and it was the weekend where all the bills were due, and I was an apartment manager. And if you do not pay your rent on time as an apartment manager, that's instant termination. So all my bills are due, no money. What am I going to do? And a few days earlier, I had talked to a girl. We had met, I guess, over 4th of July or something, and just made friends. Somebody I chatted with at a party. And I said, who do I know? And I started calling everyone in my phone book. Like, I called my maid. That was she did the cleaning on the property. She had her own company. She wasn't my personal maid. But it was the maid that introduced me to her friend. So I said, who do you know? And she said, well, you got to call Kathy. And I went, that's right. I just met her. She's so cool. And so I called 2 or 3 people. And on a Friday afternoon, I booked 3 events for my weekend. Guys, this is what fast action does, and just saying this. Number 1, Kathy, I said, hey, Kathy, this has happened. I've got to make money fast. What would you say if you got some of your friends together and I did readings and I could charge $50 a person, and I give you a cut of the room? And she went, oh my God, yes. Well, I got there thinking I might be working a party or there'd be 4 or 5 people. She had 20 people waiting for me. I'm like, oh, okay. And I sat in her kitchen, and one person after another. And that was a very nice day, right? And then I even offered follow-up appointments and readings. And so I had my card right there. And then I got follow-ups from that. The next one was some people, I was doing multi-level marketing, and I talked about using hypnotherapy for belief work and that stuff. And they said, well, we want to do that. How can we clear our beliefs about sales? So they had 6 people together, and I think each person, 25 or 50 bucks a person. They were thrilled. That was a 3-hour afternoon. And then the maid said, listen, I want you to come over to my house because me and my 2 sisters, we feel like there's a family curse or something. It was something really bizarre. And I came over and I charged them 300 bucks. So what I did in one afternoon's time with just regular connections, guys, kind of warm connections. Probably only one of them was anyone I had a real relationship with. This is what I want to do. Who do you know? And I made double what my regular check was. And at first I was kind of mad because the thing had happened, but I didn't realize it was really a gift from the universe to show me that I had the power to make a change and really create cash on command. If you get nothing out of this, we have talked about creative strategies, we've cleared beliefs, we've looked at some models, and we've done these different things. But if you get nothing else out of this, my prayer, my hope, my wish is that you see that you truly have the power. Okay, that's what I'm hoping and praying for you. That's what I wanted to demonstrate in all these crazy stories, that it is at your command, and you're only one relationship away, one phone call away from, or just one conversation, I could say that, from having everything that you wanted. Having one conversation with a girl across the table that we could barely hear led to an introduction to someone who had 2,600 people in their downline. Okay, at a meeting where everything was going wrong. All right, we didn't have the website, we didn't have the book, we didn't have a brand name, we just had this thing we did, and it produced results. Okay. Today, I had put out a message a few weeks ago to my existing clients, and then I had my regular clients, and I said, I'm going to put into practice today what I'm telling everybody. This is what I want to create, and who do you know? I had 3 appointments, and one lady was someone I have not talked to in almost 10 years, and we had less than a 10-minute conversation. And I said, what are you up to? And I found out, here's what I'm up to. And I said, and she kind of does groups, she does stuff, she's a healer, and she does all kinds of interesting stuff, but she's not necessarily doing it now. But I said, hey, I have an idea I want to bounce off of you if it's okay. And she said, okay, what is it? And I told her the retreat idea that I mentioned this morning. And I said, hey, I've been having this idea to put together this retreat. Here's who it's for. Here's what I want to do. And here's the, what my intention is for it and what they'll walk away with, right? And it's a high level retreat. I'm looking for people that are earning like in that 250, around that 250 mark or so, 200 to 250, so who are ready to really break through that next level. And I just talked to her, like, I don't even think it was 30, 60 seconds about it. And I said, who do you know that I could talk to? Because I really want to get this nailed down. Who do you know that has experience with that level of person doing retreats? And she said, me, I know that. I absolutely know. I would love to brainstorm with you. She said, I've been wanting to brainstorm with you because I want to get some ideas, but I don't know anybody who can brainstorm the way I do. I said, I know, because when I brainstorm with somebody, it's not just let's play pretend. Let's get some results. And then we set up the time. And then she said, by the way, I want to talk to you about some personal coaching. I said, definitely, we will set up a conversation about that. I looked at it. We had set up for 15 minutes. It was about an 8-minute conversation. That was it. And there was nothing pushy or salesy. And she was thrilled to have the chance to like brainstorm, and we were actually going to be helping each other. Isn't that cool? Isn't that fun? So could you imagine saying, hey, I have this idea. I want to put together this class or program. Who do you know? And they go, me. I want to talk to you about that. That sounds like me. That's what I want to transfer out to you. Okay? So hang on. Let me check the chat. Very cool. Great. Yes. So it's really way simpler than we make it. So let me get over to, let me get out of this. I cheated. I just used my Commanding Wealth Circle slides and added one. This is how low tech. But I just want to remind everybody, the people on the call know this, but if you're watching the video, that every Tuesday night, we get together and we do a one command circle, and it's a phenomenal experience because it teaches you how to use the process of the one command in a practical way. And I've already got the links in the group, but I want to make sure that you remember that we're doing this on Tuesday night. Okay, so let me get out of this screen, and now I'm going to go back over to, the little thing keeps moving on me, the Google Docs. And I want to check into the chat. We only have a couple of people on the call right now, but if you are watching the video, please be sure and post your comments or questions, and I will make sure that I answer them in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and then I want to just get some feedback, and then I want to tell you what my idea is for the group. And it came in this afternoon, and I just said, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell you my next plan. Okay? So, Heather, I'm going to unmute you. Let's see. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Hi.
Okay, good. I am having a little trouble hearing you.
Oh, no.
Let's see.
Is that better?
I'll get closer to the speaker. That's okay. So I know that you're kind of jumping in a little bit late, but how far have you gotten in the process this week? We kind of touched base yesterday, but it's mostly just to say hi. Where are you at on figuring out what you want to do with people?
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. You're like still like, okay. So where do you get stuck? I am so sorry. I cannot hear you at all.
No.
So
not at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very, very muted. And we'll see if there's any way to turn up the controls. And there's not. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Hang on. Let me see if there's anything else I can do. Nope. There's nothing else I can do on my side. I'll just listen.
Sure.
I'll just listen good.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Where do you get stuck?
It I think I keep getting stuck between what I do for my practice and then trying to figure out how to do it online. I just
Okay.
can't. And marketing and I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, all I had to do really to market before was I made a website and had a Yellow Pages ad, and then I did a lot of, either one commands or Wayne Dyer did a meditation for manifesting, so with
Mhm.
oming and awing and stuff, and I sent out that energy out into the universe, and people called me. you know,
Yeah.
so all of this Facebook marketing, it gets really overwhelming. Just even putting a website out gets a little nerve-wracking for me. I'm not great with
Yeah. I
tech.
don't think you're ready for a website because it wouldn't be nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So, what I would actually, I feel like I need to have a one-on-one conversation with you, and I'm going to be posting a link that people can schedule that. But you already have a group of people that you met as a therapist. You could actually reach back to your existing people and go, I am putting together a test group or a beta group, and it could be a success principles or I don't know, wherever it is that you could feel like that, but you'd have to test your intuition.
Mhm.
But it's solving a particular thing. Like we did our money mindset challenge, and then we had a one-day boot camp addressing how we kind of get set up in our mindset, and we just did pure process. We just did hot seat, and offered one-on-one coaching, right?
Mhm.
So what I'd like to do is be able to hear what you're saying, and then maybe I can help you kind of identify where your log jam is that all right?
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, and I'll be posting that in the discussion group right after this call. Okay.
Okay.
All right, honey, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. And then Sweet Sue, I'm going to unmute you. Let me, there we go. Hey, Sue, can you hear me? Oh, you're still showing muted.
Unmute.
I accidentally did it again.
Oh.
There we go. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm refining who I'm targeting,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got a few ideas of people to contact. So I'm trying to pull it together into something that's semi-cohesive and sounds a little bit more than when I speak to people.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at.
All right. I figured out, hey guys, the problem was me. I finally found the button for the computer system. So still getting that narrowed down,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who you can help and what you could do with them, right? And you do have this beautiful workbook. So right now it's something people are doing individually.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a this just in transmission for Miss Sue, okay?
Yes.
Do you remember me telling the story about when I was a new theta healer and I was going to be promoting Asara, but I wasn't certified to teach a class. So I said, let's get together and I want to introduce this technique to you, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've got a workbook that people will be doing on their own, but I think it may help if you could put together a little, I don't know who you would interview. I mean, you're part of some groups, like even in our group, if there was somebody you were kind of resonating with, but just say, you know what, there's 3 kind of people I want to get, and they can be completely different, right? You go, hey, I want to get a grizzled, army guy. I want to get a grandmother. I want to get a young professional woman. Just say, let me get 3 or 4 people and say, I want to just walk people through this workbook in, I don't know, what, 90 minutes, an hour? How long would it take someone to really go through the workbook?
Probably 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
I want to encourage you to just, if you go, well, I want this kind of person, but I'm not sure. And maybe that kind of person, you've got these 3 or 4 people you're thinking about, get them all together. Just as I was talking to you, I was reminded about a pinochle game I used to attend in Seattle. And it started out with the people that was around. And then next thing you know, people from like 3 counties around, I don't even know how this woman did it. She had over 100 people in her apartment, and you would see this little granny staring down the army guy, and then there's this like, emo looking teenager, and then a housewife at the table, right? And they're all engaged in the same thing, and it just took it, and everybody just loved the diversity of the group, and everybody brought food, and I was surprised. I started running into my own friends who lived in other cities at this event at my neighbor's house. Right. but that image popped in for you. So I would say, before you say, I'm just going to put it out there and then people can download it, I think you need some warm human contact. And then that's going to give you some more clarity on who to work with. I just keep thinking you've got to get some living people to experience your work. And even if it's not the entire workbook, even if it were chapter 1, and get feedback. Okay?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
That way you can't lose. If you don't want to charge, you don't have to. If you wanted to charge $25 just to get in the practice of charging $25, right, to break that energetic money cherry, you can do that. Okay?
Sure.
I always talk so naughty with you, and you are like the purest, clearest, and most ladylike person I know. And
oh, honey, you don't know. No, maybe you're just relating to me. I don't necessarily.
I get a little naughty talking to Sue. I don't know what it is. I get more Texan. Like, she's so beautiful, perfect voice. I just love your voice. I want you to read a grocery list to me.
You're so cute.
Right? It's just so lovely and ladylike, and that just throws me into my redneck girl. But,
well, but maybe because I love your Texan accent. So.
Okay. See how this happens in this exchange of this appreciation. Something new happens. So I really want to encourage you to, maybe instead of who's your ideal person, think about who is interesting to you to work with, and be like the mad scientist and go, what would happen if I put these people together and they're asking this question? And then you'll be able to see where people actually get hung up, and then that would even actually could go into your FAQs in answering questions or even guiding them through the workbook. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and then even with the workbook itself, 2 other things. One, your upsell is, let's do this one-on-one, but then the other would be, let's create a weekend. Come fly up to my city, and we're going to get 10 people in a room or 20 people in a room, and we're going to go through this together. And then we're going to do exercises, and I'm going to coach, right? So there's no limit to where you could go with that model.
Right.
Yeah. In front of human beings. Yeah, let me just stretch Sue a little bit more. But at least see if you could commit to getting 3 or 4 other people in a Zoom meeting or on Skype or something to go through at least one chapter together. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Does that feel more doable, easier to think about committing to?
Yes, it does. And I think it feels right.
Okay, good.
It feels right. It feels like the right thing to do. And oddly enough, I don't know why also somehow the military seems to have played into it, which you brought that up. Somehow that's been an idea in the back of my brain. But getting people from different different at different places. But really, the workbook is for people who are facing at a crossroads.
Right.
And that could be anybody, and the crossroads can be anything, and who don't know where to go. They've got these decisions to make and they don't know where to start. And that's what this workbook is all about. It's that starting place. It gives you that starting place. And then from there, once you've done this and once you have an overview of where you're at and what you're needing, then you can move forward from there. But what I found in the past is that everybody, you go herring down this road and that road and the next best road, and you don't have an overview or any kind of a position where you're starting from, or to know really is that road the one you need to be going down. Right.
And so somebody who did a really good job of framing that is someone named Matt Church, M-A-T-T, and Church, like at the church building. And look up the pink sheet process. In fact, just you could do a YouTube search on it. And he does this little talk about, you know, it's one thing to have ideas, but a lot of people don't know how to think about creating the next thing. And so he developed this process, right? And so it's like, yeah, go through it. And then he said, oh, here's the training on it. And then it's free to whoever wants to use it. They put it out in Creative Commons, right? Which I'm not suggesting you do.
Right.
And one of the things he has is the book is Think. Then he says, here's how to do the process. And then he had this other book that was, here's examples of other people's pink sheets, right? And that's all it was. You just see example after example, seeing how people broke down their thought process. But he does a really good job of laying the foundation of where the gap is, right? And so he might be a good model for you. You are very articulate, but he's positioning it as far as just if you wanted to write a book or you wanted to create a program or design a new product, right? So if there's something creative you want to do. But I'm a big fan of his work. And there's a book that he came out with that you can't get anymore. And I happen to still have the Amazon Kindle copy that I am guarding with my life. I have probably been through it several times, and I get something new out of it every time. Matt Church is a brilliant thinker. So definitely want to tune into anything he's doing. Okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Matt Church, Pink Sheet Process. Okay, my darlings. So now let me share with you what my little idea is. One of the things that we touched on during the week was I said, you know, I had this idea for an offer. I was going to be selling a coaching program, and I had this view of about 6 to 8 weeks. And then I realized people are not really quite there yet. And then someone suggested that, hey, we have a clinic. And I said, I think a clinic would be good. And then when I even just started outlining what the clinic was, it would be almost a little too broad, and to try to do something in one day, even just to kind of walk you through the process. So I want to actually wait before making an offer about a clinic or a 6-week coaching program, because frankly, most people aren't in a position to go there. And then just with the glitches, I mean, I'm just going to be transparent. I'm just going to tell you all the truth. I think I'm supposed to do that. You know, I could come up with some really great talk, but I'm just going to tell you the truth. With the glitches, that's kind of thrown off the rhythm of people being able to build on and be able to really be where they need to be today to even take the right action and have the clarity. They're not even in the position, if I said, let's go through a clinic. So what I want to do is I'm going to post a link and set it up so that I can have a 30-minute appointment with whoever wants to book it with me. And it's a free appointment. And I just want to have a conversation with people about their business, where they're going, where they're getting hung up, like I suggested with Heather. And Heather, I apologize. I'm not able to tune back into you now. But I just want to find out where you are and then be able to give some feedback. And then, if it makes sense, then I might make a suggestion on what we could do next or maybe how I could help them, but that's not the intention. My real intention is I want to know how I can best serve the people who raised their hand and said, I want to get more clients and I want to be able to create a program and do another 5-day challenge that is tighter and more directed, and it's kind of like smaller steps. This one was a lot more mindset, and the next one I want it to be really, let's break down some steps. Do step 1, 2, 3, done, 1, 2, 3, done, 1, 2, 3, cha-cha-cha kind of thing, and we can start, putting out things that are actionable. Does that make sense? Are y'all with me? So here's the whole big offer. Click on my link when it's going to appear in the thing, and I am going to be sending out individual messages and be putting out what the appointment link is. We're going to talk for about 30 minutes. We're going to jump on Zoom together, and I just want to find out where you are, and I want to be able to ask some questions about your business. And then if I can be of some help or give suggestions, that's great. And then I want to be able to get some honest feedback from you in exchange. I think that's fair. So that's the big sales pitch, guys. A free 30-minute session where we just have a conversation about where you are and see if we can make some suggestions. And then you even get to give me some criticism. How's that for the deal? So that's all we're going to be really talking about. What I want to encourage you to do in the meantime is this. And I would love to get feedback like by next Friday. And I'm saying by next Friday, what is that date? Next Friday, is that the 18th? But anyway, I don't even have my calendar. I want to get feedback by next Friday on, did you have a conversation with anyone where you said, hey, who do you know? I have this idea. I want to do this. I'm wanting to put it together. And who do you know that either works with those people or is someone that would be interested in doing something like that? That's all I'm asking you to do. And if you will do that, I promise that you will have people say, me, I want to do that. Tell me more about that. Or that sounds like me, or you sound like my brother-in-law, or I know Joe Blow in this group. And then you start getting that clear, and everything else is going to start flowing for you. Then your confidence will go up. You'll start getting excited about making those making those connections. I'm suggesting through Facebook or Twitter. You can send an email or a text. If it's a friend, do that. But start with people that you know that are already in your old list. Okay? Just be trying it out. Play with it. Okay? And notice what happens when you start getting in that kind of like what if open conversation while you have an intention of creating something that you can really stand behind, know that creates a transformation and will create a great living for you. Okay? That's what we're doing. So all next week, I'm going to keep posting to the group and giving suggestions, and make sure that you book your appointment as soon as possible so that I know this is going to fill up quick. And because I still have my regular list I'm working with, and then I have my regular group that's the One Command Money Mastery, and then Asara and I are putting together another coaching program. So I want to be able to be present to people while I've got this little window of time. Okay? So and I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a day on this. And I just want to say thank you again to everybody who raised their hand and said, yes, I'm in, and showed up on the calls and the videos, and the text messages that I've got from everybody has been so beautiful. I've gotten the most loving, encouraging, and grateful messages from everyone. So Sue's saying, thanks so much, Catherine. Really appreciate the time, effort, and energy you put into this and the immense value that you brought to the process. Thank you. And thank you. And we'll be in touch. So next time, this is Catherine Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and I witness your mastery. Bye-bye. Mwah. There we go.